return of the Charlie Kirk Bible read and the Bob Rant. So back on board after a little break for Christmas. Um, got a few Bible reads to go, but as always, let's show you the weather over the bay. We've had a great day, but things are about to change, I think. That is Port Phillip Bay. It's not looking good. God, my windows need to clean too. So, we've got rough seas. It's a bit breeze. The temperature's dropped. Very cloudy. My guess from looking out over there is we're going to get a lot of rain overnight. So we've had finally a couple of warm days, but it doesn't look like it's going to stay that way for a little bit. So that's going to be our weather. So, not looking good. A bit like our mood at times. So, sorry, just plugging my thing in. Here's my sidekick. Good old JJ, sticking his nose in where he shouldn't, wants to say g'day. Hey, can you, mate, as usual? He'll say g'day, then get on his couch. Pity you can't offer an opinion. I think it'd be a bit more intelligent than some of the opinions I've heard of recent. But anyway, that's what it is. So, haven't done a few Bible reads. I've got to catch up since Christmas Day. Actually, it was Christmas Eve, the last one. So, we've got a few to catch up. Won't take long, I don't think. So we got the 25th, 26th. We got 5 days. Bear with me, and then I'll get into my rant. I've got a pretty good rant coming up, I think. So it's worth hanging in there with me. Matthew 1:18 through 25. This is for December 25th, Christmas Day, that's just gone. The birth of Jesus Christ. Shock horror. Matthew's accounts of Jesus' birth concentrates not on the circumstances of the event, but on God's promise and its meaning. God, don't we need that? This was how the birth of Jesus took place. His mother Mary was engaged to Joseph, but before they were married, she found out that she was going to have a baby by the Holy Spirit. Joseph was a man who always did what was right, but he did not want to disgrace Mary publicly. So he made plans to break the engagement privately. While he was thinking about this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, Joseph, descendant of David, do not be afraid to take Mary to be your wife, for it is by the Holy Spirit that she has conceived. She will have a son, and you will name him Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins. Now all this happened in order to make what the Lord had said through the prophet come true. A virgin will become pregnant and have a son, and he will be called Emmanuel, which means God is with us. So when Joseph woke up, he married Mary as the angel of the Lord had told him to do, but he had no sexual relationship with her before she gave birth to a son. And Joseph named him Jesus. I think we're all well aware of that story. Okay, December 26th, again, Matthew 2:1 through 12. Visitors from the east. I'm pretty sure this is the Three Kings. I could be wrong. The infant Jesus is presented with 3 gifts by the visitors from the east. They signified worship of a king, but also suffering. Jesus was born in the town of Bethlehem in Judea. During this time when Herod was king, soon afterwards, some man who studied the stars came from the east to Jerusalem and asked, where is the baby born to be the king of the Jews? Interesting, considering how there's a lot of people now trying to say that Jesus was not a Jew. All right, he was a Palestinian. But by the apostles and disciples who think he was born to be the king of the Jews. So I'll come into that a little bit later. When King Herod heard about this, he was very upset, and so was everyone in Jerusalem. He called together all the chief priests and the teachers of the law and asked them, where will the Messiah be born? In the town of Bethlehem in Judea, they answered. For this is what the prophet wrote, Bethlehem in the land of Judah. You are by no means the least of the leading cities of Judah, for from you will come a leader who will guide my people Israel. So Herod called the visitors from the east to a secret meeting and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem with these instructions. Go and make a careful search for the child. When you find him, let me know so that I too may go and worship him. And so they left, and on the way they saw the same star they had seen in the east. When they saw it, how happy they were, what joy was theirs. It went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. They went into the house, and when they saw the child with his mother Mary, they knelt down and worshipped him. They brought out the gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and presented them to him. Then they returned to their country by another road, since God had warned them in a dream not to go back to Herod. Which God would warn a few people not to go back to Elbow, but getting off the subject. December 27th, Peter's message in the temple, Acts 3:17-26. So getting away from the Christmas message. Peter is quite certain the Old Testament prophets taught that God's Messiah would have to suffer in order to bring people to God. And now, my brothers, I know what you and your leaders did to Jesus was due to your ignorance. God announced long ago through all the prophets that his Messiah had to suffer, and he made it come true in this way. Repent then and turn to God, so that he will forgive you your sins. If you do, times of spiritual strength will come from the Lord. He will send Jesus, who is the Messiah he's already chosen for you. He must remain in heaven until the time comes for all things to be made new, as God announced through his holy prophets who lived long ago. For Moses said, the Lord your God will send you a prophet just as he sent me, and he will be one of your own people. You are to obey everything that he tells you to do. Anyone who does not obey that prophet shall be separate from God's people and destroyed. And all the prophets who had the message, including Samuel and those who came after him, also announced what has been happening these days. The promises of God through his prophets are for you, and you share in the covenant which God made with your ancestors. As he said to Abraham, through your descendants I will bless all the peoples on earth. And so God chose his servant and sent him first to you, to bless you by making every one of you turn away from his wicked ways. Getting there, 3 to go. This was the problem when you take a day off, or days. You got to catch up. So Psalm 43, 1 through to 2a, and then 3 through to 5. Praying in exile. The psalmist was honest before God about he felt abandoned. Yet he also says that God is his protector and guide. O God, declare me innocent and defend my cause against the ungodly. Deliver me from lying and evil man. You are my protector. Why have you abandoned me? Send your light and your truth. May they lead me and bring me back to Zion, your sacred hill, and to your temple where you live. Then I will go to your altar, O God. You are the source of my happiness. I will play my harp and sing praise to you. O God, my God, why am I so sad? Why am I so troubled? I will put my hope in God, and once again I will praise him, my Saviour and my God. December 29th, an old man's prayer. That's me. Psalm 71, 16 through 24. As an old man, the psalmist can look back and remember with gratitude that God has taught and been with him all his life. I will praise your power, sovereign Lord. I will proclaim your goodness, yours alone. You have taught me ever since I was young, and I still tell you wonderful acts. Now that I am old and my hair is grey, do not abandon me, O God, but with me while I proclaim your power and might to all generations to come. Your righteousness, God, reaches the skies. You have done great things. There is no one like you. You have sent troubles and suffering on me, but you will restore my strength. You will keep me from the grave. You will make me greater than ever. You will comfort me again. I will indeed praise you with the harp. I will praise your faithfulness, my God. On my harp I will play hymns to you, the Holy One of Israel. I will shout for joy as I pray for you. With my whole being I will sing because you have saved me. I will speak to you of your righteousness all day long, because those who tried to harm me have been defeated and disgraced. Okay, interesting. Not quite the prayer I would give as an old man, but anyway, each their own. Romans 12:9 through 21, the priority of love. Paul knows the Romans' Christian hope will strengthen them as they try to live in God's way. Love must be completely sincere. Hate what is evil, hold on to what is good. Love one another warmly as Christian brothers and be eager to show respect for one another. Work hard and do not be lazy. Serve the Lord with a heart full of devotion. Let your hope keep you joyful. Be patient in your troubles and pray at all times. Search your belongings with your needy, share your belongings with your needy fellow Christians and open your homes to strangers. Ask God to bless those who persecute you. Yes, ask him to bless and not to curse. Be happy with those who are happy. Weep with those who weep. Have the same concern for everyone. Do not be proud, but accept humble duties. Do not think of yourself as wise. If someone has done you wrong, do not repay him with a wrong. Try to do what everyone considers to be good. Do everything possible on your part to live in peace with everybody. Never take revenge, my friends, but instead let God's anger do it. For the scripture says, I will take revenge. I will pay back, says the Lord. Instead, as the scriptures say, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him a drink. For by doing this, you will make him burn with shame. Do not let evil defeat you. Instead, conquer evil with good. That last one, very wise. Got one to go, I think. Being the last day, yep, we do. We're up to one more. So we'll get on tomorrow and we'll have that. I like that last passage. Thought that really appropriate in the times we've got. We all are, with this shooting in Bondi and with everything else that's been going on for quite some time now, we are a divided nation. We really are. And that got rammed home to me last night. I'm not doing my podcast tonight, my last day off, but I'm back on the Tuesday night podcast next week from 8. So today will be my last day off from the podcast on Christmas. You probably can tell what my voice is going, so I don't think I could do this and the podcast. I was going to intend to, but yeah, it might be a battle, and I've got things to do. This time of year, I actually have to get quite busy for work because if I don't do it now, and when everyone comes back in for the start of school term, I'm in a lot of trouble. So I've got these next 4 weeks to get a lot of things done. So I need to start that tonight. So forgive me if you ever do follow me on my podcast. Last night was interesting. I got a text from a young fella. He got me on, or I got on, I should say, and he was quite excited about it. He's called Australian Talks on X. He seems a genuine guy, and so just as a shout out for him, so it's Australian Talk. I don't know what his handle is. Here I go, at Australian Talk. There you go. So he hosts a bunch of X Spaces, and I got on one a while ago, and because I got on that, he actually invited me on another one because he saw a post I put up yesterday in response to this guy that got arrested for having an SS tattoo on his Achilles, just above his ankle. And he also had wide power down the back of the leg. Now, this guy was just down the beach, apparently with family. I'm only going by what I've been told, but it sounds legit. And there's this guy, Ben Parsons. He goes on, I think it was Channel 9 News, and he boasted about how he not only dobbed this guy, and he took photos of his tats. So we're now in the ridiculous situation in our country where having a tattoo considered as a hate symbol is illegal. That's hate speech. So all our AFL footballers, for example, I used this last night, Dusty Martin, I mean, his whole body's covered in tattoos. Can I find a symbol that he's got on somewhere on his body that I can consider hate speech and then dob him into the police? Because that's what this guy boasted that he did, Ben Parsons. Ben Parsons is the, I'll get it up, he's the secretary. I can share my screens. We'll get on to the share screens and home. Let's have a look at Ben Parsons. So, I'm just fed up with a lot of this, and I did a post. So I think I'm sharing this now. Yes, I am. I did a post. It's gone gangbusters. I called Ben Parsons, which I think everyone should consider. Pardon my French, he's a fuckwit. I mean, anyone who goes in and goes to a beach and scouts for a certain, but here he is, this guy here, and And let's have a listen to what he says.
Ben Parsons spotted the tattoos allegedly linked to white supremacist ideology.
I thought it was shocking, pretty offensive, especially 9 days after we've just had the largest terrorist attack on Australian soil.
Ben reported the alleged racist body ink to police. 3 days later, Mr. Rant was arrested at a home in Eureka, south of Coffs Harbour. He's now charged with 2 offences related to displaying Nazi symbols and faces up to 12 months behind bars, as well as a fine up to $11,000.
At the moment, I think we all need to be the best Australians we can be and have solidarity and unity and stand together in erasing racism and erasing fascism.
It was only 3 years ago the New South Wales Parliament passed laws making the public display of Nazi symbols a criminal offence.
There's no place for it. As far as people are propagating that or responsible for tattooing it, they should be ashamed of themselves. We're going to do everything we can to stamp out hate in our community.
Madison Scott, 9 News.
Now, I find that unbelievable. Unbelievable. I didn't believe it. I thought there's no way possible that could be a law. As it turns out, was read out to me yesterday, the actual legislation they put through. And indeed, wearing a Nazi tattoo in public is illegal. So, I mean, what if this guy got this tattoo on his leg 15 years ago, before the legislation went through, before we had these ridiculous hate speech laws come in? I think it is absolutely abhorrent on our liberties, on our freedom of speech and our freedom of assembly. Now, if you follow me for any length of time, I am certainly opposed to Nazi ideology. Totally opposed to it. I don't agree with it. I argue against it. But I'm also a big supporter of free speech, free assembly, ability to debate, have an opinion, not make it criminal to have speech. I can disagree with someone about Nazi ideology without wishing him to go to jail. Ben Parsons doesn't seem to be able to think that. Now, have the debate. Let the battle of ideas win. You know, morons will be morons. You know, I encountered a few last night. But you can have that debate. And even the worst moron, let him have or her have that opinion and then debate. You know, put the best argument you can forward. You know, there is a concern on that because on both sides of politics, right and left, there are people that want to censor those, for example, on the right, and there's those on the right that not only want to censor, but they want to deport people out of the country. So if you go back to that Bible read, now there's a lot of people on the right, so they talk about Western civilization, but they tend to forget that Western civilization was built on Christianity. Christianity overcome the Roman Empire, became the official religion, and from that, it grew and grew and grew across Europe. That is not even debatable. That's just a fact. Now, you can't be proposing this hatred towards other people if you're a Christian. It goes against the very tenets of the Christian faith, the Catholic faith, whatever faith you are of a Christian tenet. Love one another as I have loved you, that simple 11th commandment, or 13th commandment, whatever it is, you know, the one on top of the commandment that Jesus gave us. Love one another as I have loved you. And we've lost our way on that in a big way on a number of counts. Now, I'm pretty forthright in my opinions, but I try to keep it. I mean, every day, pretty much, I read Bible verses. You know, when I get behind, like today, I catch up on them. So I'm a big proponent of freedom of speech. You cannot criminalise your way out of the disunity in our country. You can't say to people, you can't believe this, you can't say that. You have the debate. You win the debate. And if you can't win the debate against a hateful ideology, whether that's the Nazis, whether that's radical Islam, whether that's just this guy from the left, a Marxist, whether it's the worst and the far right, well, then you're not very good at debating. All right? That's where we're at. But I've got a bit of an alternative. I just want to go through, so I'm going to share this again. See if I can get it up. Yep, on Twitter. And I want to go through the response I gave to this article. All right. So as you can see, that's my response. It's gone gangbusters. It's had 60,000 views, got nearly 3,000 likes, 30 bookmarks, quotes, shares. I've got a few Marxist leftists jumping on there having a crack at me. But overall, I think most Australians have been pretty disgusted by it. Now, I want to give you a bit of a look at who this Ben Parsons character is. He's on X, and I'll tell you why I know that he's on X. If I can find... Oh, there's a few Ben Parsons. Oh, my God. Ben Parsons, he had this in his thing. He, him. Let's see if that comes up. Free speech. Meet Ben Parsons. He's copying it. Replying to Down Under, Down Under. Ben Parsons is the communist who called police. No, that's not it. Ben Parsons got on. He might have taken himself off. Ben Parsons got onto my thread, and what he did is he had one of his people on there that that threatened Ben Parsons. Him. This is the space I got into last night. Maybe they've got a link to him. No. Okay. Sorry. Maybe he's got off X. I'm surprised I can't find him. He got onto my thread and he retweeted a person that put a critical comment about my comment. So he was trying to incite all his followers to get on. This guy is a woke leftist. He's a trade unionist. He's if I can get this right, I'm going from memory here. He's the secretary of the Education Union or something in New South Wales. So he's definitely woke left. He's an educator. He teaches at schools. He teaches at TAFE. He's as left as you can get, you know. So he loves the fact he's taken on Chris Minns' board that we can't have free speech because we've got to protect multiculturalism. So free speech goes. So now we've got this self-appointed, Stasi police. If you don't know what Stasi polices are, look up the Eastern Bloc, East Germany, USSR. They basically get in people's lives and then dob them into authority so they get arrested. So that's our Ben Parsons mates. So he dobbed this guy in with the tats. Now, if you can look these up. If you can get on X a photo shot and they're available, it's not hard to find it. If you get on X and start looking, you can see the actual tattoo on this guy's leg. Now, you can't even read the entire thing. Down the back of his right leg, he's got tattooed white paper, and the bottom he's got the SS insignia from World War II, from the Nazi Germany. Now, a lot of young people when they're younger do stupid things. For example, Prince Harry, when he was younger, got drunk and went to a party dressed up as a Nazi. And he did that with the okay, apparently, of his brother, the next king in line, King William. So in Australia, would those two get arrested for hate speech? Another example, more recent. Albo walked down the stairway from the Australian Air Force plane that he uses for overseas trips in a Joy Division T-shirt. Joy Divisions refer to Nazi troops who use Jewish women for basically a sex trade. Look it up. It's right out there in the open. Should Albo, because apparently this legislation is now retrospective from all accounts, should Albo be arrested for hate speech? I mean, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Where does this stuff finish? Former Premier in New South Wales, Nick Perrottet, went to a birthday party dressed as a Nazi. Now, back when I was growing up, you had Nazi paraphernalia everywhere. I'm the son of a father who fought in World War II. After World War II, there was that many war films about the Allies versus the Nazis. There was comic books. There was books. There was models of Nazi tanks. Every single one of them had the Nazi symbol. Are we getting to a point, if you own one of those model tanks now, of an historical fact, that you could be getting charged for hate speech? So I was a pretty pissed off man yesterday, and Australian Talk, I don't know his name, sorry, he got me to come onto his space. So, which I did. I got onto his space and I had my rant and thing. Then had a rant. And look, the last time that he looked after me on this, he was very good. He was pretty good last night as well. Got me on front, but I'm sort of the token boomer. So I get to have my opinion, which was actually really supportive of what this guy did. You know, I don't agree. If he believes in the Nazi ideology, I don't agree with him. I'm actually not even a big tattoo fan. You know, if I had a son and he was going to get a tattoo, I'd tell him not to be a dickhead. Don't get it. You know, same thing, even worse for a daughter. So on neither aspect, whether it's the tattoo or what the ideology of the tattoo behind it, I'm not a big supporter of it. But he has got the right in a free country to have that symbol, in my opinion. Now, in Australia, we're not a free country anymore. He does not have that right. I mean, I'm probably walking a thin line by saying I think he should have the right. And what I'm saying is that hate speech because I believe in a person's right to believe in what they wish to believe in. And I just like I have got the right to call, like I did with Ben, you're a fuckwit. You know, if I disagree with someone, I have the right to push back. That's what free speech is all about. I have the right to block you if I don't like your speech. You know, you have the right to say what you like, but I have also the right not to listen to it. But it shouldn't be criminalized. So anyway, that's part one of my rant. Part two is this space I went on yesterday. And I woke up this morning. I struggled to get to sleep last night because I'm thinking, where is this country going? And so I got on this space, had my opinion, which should have been supported. Now, there's a number of NSN types, Nazi types on this space. You figure them out very quickly. I had my say, but I also had a lot of work to do because I had to get up this morning, and I'll get onto that in a minute, and I'm helping my landlord out with a few jobs. Painted a garage today. I'll be painting an apartment for him in the next couple of weeks, just while I've got time on my hand. He's a good guy, so I'm helping him out. I get a few bucks for it too, which is nice. So anyway, I had to get some work for my business done last night before I went out to do this job for my landlord. So I had to get off the space, and I got my work for my business done pretty quickly. I impressed myself how quickly I did it. So I thought I'll get back on the space, see what they're talking about. So this is the only second X space I got on. Now, once I got back on, I got noticed again. I was asked some questions. And I'm going to approach Australian Talk because I'm going to be critical of the space. And he's got the right to defend it. Again, I'm very big on trying to at least give invites to people to come on my podcast, whether it's this one or the Tuesday night one, and talk to me about these things. You know, engaging in freedom of speech, engaging in oh, sorry, thought I had a message. So engaging in, you know, an exchange of ideas, an exchange of opinions. So I'm big on that. But, you know, even last night on the space, one, I had to get up early this morning, but two, I was just listening. I was trying to put forward a sensible argument, but there was no talking sense to these people who were on this space. I'm sorry, I can't have a sensible conversation with anybody who thinks every problem with this world is because of the Jews. I mean, it is like listening, and this is the problem with social media and X, and you got to sort of pick and choose your things. But it's like listening to Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and all the other idiots. Nick Fuentes, actually not even Nick Fuentes, that's a bit harsh. Nick Fuentes sometimes says some reasonable things. But last night, every issue was the Jews. It came back to the Jews. Conspiracy theories, left, right, and center. We've got to deport anybody that is black. That's it, black. You know, even different shades of black. Now, we have some issues. We need to be deporting certain people. I would agree with that. But just because your skin color doesn't match a certain lineage doesn't mean those people have deserve to be kicked out. And then we had all the conspiracy theories. So I just shut up because if I'd spoken too much, and I did speak a bit, I was just going to get myself in all sorts of trouble on this space. I figured that out after listening to a few. I mean, every conspiracy theory was coming out, whether it's the banks or whether it's, you know, that Australia's a corporation, not a constitution, which has been debunked, by the way. And I could not be bothered in this space to go into it. But I've heard all these conspiracies before. And I just didn't want to engage, because when you engage with this, you did then get attacked and abused, and that's my right. That's my right of speech to engage. And I've had some really good friends that are both Islamic, Jewish, Christian, atheist. Dealt with all of them ever since I moved to Melbourne, so for a good 40 years. But the thing that was going over in my head is, how did we get there? And whenever you hear Elbow right now talking about unity, he was on it, banging on about it again today. He's banging on about uniting the country after this Bondi attack. Now, one thing that came up that they used to justify, so I'll give you one example. One lady there last night, God bless her soul, she was of the opinion that, and look, there's some legitimacy to this, that we're going to get facial recognition, digital ID, all this sort of shit. And why does she think that? Now, what she did is she used COVID as an example, what we went through in COVID and how we're going to get 15-minute cities. All the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab and how he's been influenced by the Jewish class. I mean, you just got to listen to a few influencers. You'll get all this stuff all the time. So you got to decide whether you believe in it or not. Look, if they're that influential, there's nothing we can do here. We can't do anything on social media. I was going to make the argument, during COVID, we had restrictions. We couldn't go certain distances. I was totally opposed to that then. A number of the messages that Dan Andrews and across this country they put in were ridiculous. We all knew it then. We all know it now. But the fact is, they put those restrictions in. They did do a lot of oppressive 1984 George Orwell stuff during COVID. And what her argument was, well, look what they did during COVID. Well, you thought I'd go in my head, okay, they did that during COVID. But if they were really these oppressive people that you're talking about, why did they give up that control? Why did they eventually give up on those restrictions? Now, the answer to that is simple. People power. Elections were coming up. They didn't want to be seen to be, God, there's a boat going out in the bay. Crazy time to be going out. I hope he doesn't capsize. Anyway, good luck to him. It's getting really I'll give you a quick look. Not too sure this is so smart by this guy, but he might know better than me. I'll give you a quick look. This is how rough it's getting out in the bay. You should be able to see the boat just going out. He's going against those waves. I'm not too sure that's a smart idea, but he'll get out to the calmer parts. But look at it popping up and down. He probably came out this morning on a sunny day thinking, we can go for a swim or fishing. It's gotten very rough. And that boat is up and down a bit, so good luck. I'll say a prayer for the guy. I sort of got two extremes yesterday. I've got the extremes of this Ben Parsons guy who was motivated by Chris Minns. You saw Chris Minns on there. Oh, you can't have a Nazi tattoo. Well, what about all the Hells Angels guys, the bikers? Are they now supposed to go get them removed? This guy, Ben Parsons, he obviously searched the beach. This was not an easy tattoo to recognise. He recognised it, took a photo, then dobbed him in. Now he's got the police knocking on his door and he's got arrested. Chris Minns, the Premier of New South Wales, thinks that's a good thing. I'll be writing to I really am not going to just write to our politicians, and I'm talking on the centre-right side, so all the Liberals, the Nationals, One Nation, whatever. I'm pretty sure I know where One Nation and the Libertarians stand on this. So, but I'm very interested to see what the Liberals and Nationals think on this one. Maybe if Labor just pushed this envelope too far, Liberals might, I'm hoping against hope, Liberals might go back to their previous opinions on beliefs and values. If you read them, that would be totally opposed to this nonsense. And the silly thing is, the Nazis didn't shoot those 15 people dead. It was 2 Indian Muslims that shot those 15 people dead. It's classic deflection, which if you understand politics, you understand what deflection is. I'll give you an example of deflection. Our cricketers, our batsmen, in this last test where it went 2 days, their performances were so horrible. They played some of the most horrible shots. How do they deflect away from their performance? Let's blame the pitch. So now the poor old curator's copying it. That pitch is no different to pitches. There have been worse pitches. And if you understand your cricket and your history of it, Don Bradman, for example, played in an era where there was no helmets, the gloves were ridiculous for protection, didn't have the thigh pads, their leg padding was ridiculous, they're just awful, and their bats were nowhere near as powerful as what they were today, but they went out on uncovered pitches. Uncovered. I mean, those cricketers from that era would be rolling in the grave listening to their excuses, these batsmen, for why Test went 2 days. Had nothing to do with the pitch. It was about their performance, so they deflected. Very convenient to blame the pitch. Our politicians, they had Australia's worst massacre on Bondi Beach. And the ALP rely on immigration, and especially Islamic immigration, to hold seats that get them into power. So they're willing for that power to throw other Australians under the bus. So they've got to find something to blame. Deflection. So what have we had? Guns, social media, and Nazis. They come to it all the time, but people just don't wake up to it. It's just, I was listening to all this and I'm thinking, where are these people? How are they getting to this position? And I had a few when I was talking which was a big mistake probably, try to jump across the top of me, have a crack. So naturally, I push back pretty hard, and which I'll do with anyone. Let me get if anyone's watched my interviews, I'll get my point across, and then I'll let the other person get across without interjecting on them. Just have the courtesy to listen. Then, if you want, disagree. But these guys were every bit as over the top as this Ben Parsons. So you've got the right and you've got the left, and how the hell did we get to this position? And I was listening to this lady, won't say her name, and she was banging on about COVID, and then it just dawned on me. Sorry, I'll get rid of this screen. It's starting to move. Annoying. There we go. Got me back. Hopefully you got my voice as we go. We'll see it. I'll keep it on the chat on the phone, and I should get it back. It's always a bit of a delay. So hopefully you get me back. There we go. Yeah, good. You got me back. Sorry about that, everyone. I managed to mute myself. That's God telling me to shut up. But going back, so I'm hearing these different viewpoints from both left and right, and they're both over the top. And this is what our politicians have done. This is just an opinion. Our politicians over a journey have acted in such a malicious manner, whether they're left or right, it doesn't matter. Scott Morrison threw in COVID and his stupid national cabinet. the way he turned a blind eye to what Dan Andrews was doing. What's that silly bitch's name that was Premier of New South Wales? How she oppressed us all. So basically what they've done, our politicians, over, I'd say, 2 decades, this century, they've destroyed our trust in government. And we need to destroy a trust in our system, our government, our institutions. People will replace that vacuum with something. So if they cannot trust our politicians, our government, our institutions, and our police and our judiciary, then they're going to replace it with something else. And they're replacing it with, on the right, these conspiracy theories, and they're replacing it on the left that everyone's a Nazi. If you have an Australian flag, you're a Nazi, which I'll come to in a minute. So it's just insane. And I'm just trying to think on how you can bring this back. And I think the only way we can bring it back is to do what I'm doing and talk as much as you can and point out the ridiculousness of it all. It's just, I actually think, and call me biased, I actually think if we're going to preserve Western society, if we're going to preserve our Australian culture, I'm actually now increasingly at the point we need to re-embrace this. That might be on in reverse for some of you, but that's basically the Bible. Christianity. I could read you that last speech about us all having to love each other and love every person and all that. We've got to find our better angels amongst us. Now, I'll get on 2 things. I was watching a clip today on X, and it was about a POM, and they asked this immigrant. He had an English accent. He seemed a reasonable guy, certainly well spoken, well thought, and he asked the interviewer asked this guy what he thought about the flags, the English flags. And I actually think he made a really valid point, and I'm convinced of this after last night, is most people will have that flag like I do and display it as an act of patriotism. But there is definitely a percentage, probably very much a minority, that will use that flag as a dog whistle for their own racist attitudes. So I think definitely last night there was a fair bit of that going on in the conversations. Like we were getting tired, options were coming up, V for Vendetta, like I hadn't seen the film, which I've seen several times. I love the film. But, people are now at the point that, Andrew Bogut put this up the other day, that you can't vote your way out of this. Well, once you get to that point, you're in a bit of trouble as a country because there's only one way out of it you're going to get, and that's through revolution. And honestly, I don't want a revolution. We're talking, if you go down that path, you're talking civil war, and they're talking about this in England as we speak. And if we go there, a lot of good people are going to lose their lives in very violent ways. We're going to destroy our cities. We're going to destroy our economy. We're not going to unite Australia for a very long time. And there's a lot of countries that have gone through civil wars that end up a banana republic. Now, I am not buying into that approach. I think we can vote our way out of it. If we couldn't, I wouldn't be doing this. But we've got to get the right people into our parliaments. We've got to be more picky. And look, we don't carry anyone, but you've got to just get 50% of the vote. Don't even really need that. If you can get, 39 to 40% of the first preferences and then get more preferences flowing in, you win government. So you don't even need to win a majority of the vote, like 60%. You win 40% plus good preferences, you win. And as Albo and the ARP, you win in a landslide. So we don't have to convince a lot of people, but I do think there are certain things we're not going to be able to do, whether you want to do it or not. So mass deportations. You can't deport people because you don't like the colour of their skin or their heritage. If they're born here and they've got Aussie citizenship, they're Aussies. They're not immigrants. They're born here. They're Aussies. And this morning, when I was doing this job for my landlord, I had a really nice guy. We were working together. We got up a good conversation. Just a lovely guy and a hard worker. You could see he's a really decent guy. And I thought he had a Serbian accent. And he's got a white complexion. You wouldn't pick him out. If he was in a lineup with white guys, he'd be white. And at the end, I was about to leave. So I just asked him, I said, what's your accent, mate? Are you from Serbia, from Europe? And I was interested in that because I've coached Serbian and Croatian kids through my basketball business. And he goes, no, I'm from Afghanistan. Well, blow me over. I nearly fell over. I felt fairly embarrassed. So I just asked him the question. I said, well, how long you been here? And he's been here for a long while, and he used to work with Serbians for about 3 years, so he may have picked up the accent from them. And I just asked him questions comparing Australia to Afghanistan and all this sort of thing, whether he was a citizen. We just struck up a conversation. And he made a very valid comment that a lot of Australians don't understand how lucky they've got it. He said, I understand because the country I came from was a disaster, and I love Australia. This is what this guy's saying. And here he is. He pays taxes, he's work, he's a tradie, he's fixing this house. It's got cracks down the side, so he's got to, I think it's render it. I'm no tradie. But I was doing painting. You know, he was good with my dog, which is interesting. If he's from Afghanistan, he could be Islamic. He may not be. But most Muslims don't like dogs. This guy loved my German Shepherd, JJ. He, patted him, did all that sort of, just a typical Aussie guy. So are we going to deport him? I mean, I work with a lot of families that fled Hong Kong when the CCP took it over. You know, some Chinese family that are from there. They've got relatives in China. They came back over here. They've had kids. Their kids are either 1 or 2 generations in, whether they're from, I've got kids from China, Vietnam, Indonesia. They're Christians. They've been in here, the country for a while. Some of the parents were born in Australia. The kids were born in Australia. So they've been in Australia 2 generations born. Their parents are still overseas, so the kids' grandparents. So they go over and see them, naturally enough, which is a good thing. Having a family reunion, if you can manage it. Are we going to deport all them? These aren't Islamic terrorists. They're not Nazis on one side or wokists on the other or whatever. They're good, decent Australians who work hard, have an income, are raising kids, paying taxes, love our country, love what's been provided for them. It's just not feasible to say we've got to have mass deportations, that you send them away because you don't like their heritage or the colour of their skin or their faith or their religion. Now, sorry, this is a long rant, but I had a bit to say after 5 days off. Now, there is a problem with one faith, and that's the Islamic faith. Now, people within the Islamic faith have got to get their shit together and call out the idiots, because we're getting to a point, if we have, say, another attack by Islamic terrorists, we'll get to a point that Australians aren't just going to cop it anymore. We are getting to a point that you could face really severe repercussions, and the politicians and the police won't be able to do a thing about it. I think they're at that point in England. So how we fix it, I don't know. We just got to keep plugging away and get everyone back on the thing. And maybe like today, I got out of my ex bubble and I got to meet this guy from Afghanistan. He was talking cricket. The Afghans love their cricket, so we're talking the cricket a bit. So we were finding real things in common. And I'm lucky. I get out of my ex-bubble. I can see how a lot of these people with their conspiracy theories and all that, you read all this stuff on X, and they're just consumed by it. They're convinced that a lot of what they're talking about is reality. I'm just a humble boomer living in southeast of Melbourne. Conspiracy theories I know, but I know what hate is. And I know what I heard last night, and there's a lot of hate in our country. And that never used to be the case. Never. When I was growing up, there wasn't a lot of hate around. Aussies took anybody like this guy from Afghanistan, would welcome him in. Now, there'd be some arseholes that would throw a sledge or two his way, but that'd be the worst of it. So after yesterday, I was a very frustrated man in where my country's gone for a number of reasons. This Ben Parsons prick, it was frowned upon to dob anyone in when I was raised. If I had have done that, my father would have hit my backside so hard with the belt, I wouldn't have been able to sit down for a month. It was frowned upon to do it. And now we live in a society that we won't hesitate to dob someone in over a bloody tattoo. Yet on the other side, we want to deport everyone out of the country. We've got to find a balance in between that, again, builds the culture we want to build under that flag. And I don't think either approach yesterday was really good. So it was a bit of for me, a little bit of a tough day, and that I was torn in my beliefs. And I thought, how do we win this? How do we get it back? So the only way I think I can get it back is to do what I'm doing right now. Have a bit of a rant, have a bit of a talk, find like-minded people. And there's plenty of us out there. I know that for a fact. And, you know, on these spaces, you might get 100, 200 listeners. You might have, you know, a few thousand followers. You know, I don't have a lot of followers. I've got close to 11,000. That's not a lot. You know, to be a major influencer, you need, in my book, 500,000. Then you can impact things. But, you know, we've got to reach out. We've got to talk. Anyway, that is my rant. She was a bloody long one today. I've gone 50 minutes. So that's what you get when you don't have 5 days. If you want to come on this podcast or with me in a rant, or you want to get involved in anyway, I had Jordan Ditloff on last week. Hopefully people got to have a look at that. We went for 2.5 hours, a great conversation. Feel free. I have offered people a chance to come on this and talk to me. It's very confronting to get your face out there in the public. I understand that. When I first did it, I was confronted by it. And, you know, if they're going to start legitimately arresting people for their thoughts, speech, opinions, tattoos, emblems, whatever, I mean, we are definitely George Orwell, but we either let the bastards win or we come back and we speak out against it. So I'd rather speak out against it in the time I've got left on this life, and hopefully we can get some decent politicians in and turn this whole mess around, because we are in a bit of a mess. And I came to terms with that last night. So we've got to find a way out of that mess on both sides. Both sides. More on the left side, but definitely on both. And I can't believe people are applauding Chris Minns. He's a little dictator on steroids, that man. He unreal. Tattoos. Anyway, that's enough of a rant from me for one day. So from me, I'm going to get positive. Where is he? There he is. Look at that. The ears up. Look at that Sphinx dance. Isn't he a beautiful boy? He's just looking up, just sitting up there in charge, wondering what the hell I'm doing. Thank God for our pets. You know, they come and give you a hug. Come here. No, he's comfortable on his couch. They give you a laugh. They give you a hug. Thank God for pets. So as I always do, here's the positivity. God bless. God bless your kids. God bless your grandkids. Give them all a hug. God bless our country. Let's get it back to what it was. And I will keep ranting, preaching, whatever you want to call it, to try and get that back to where we can get it. So hopefully you've stayed with me through this rant, even though I lost you there for a while. And if you disagree with me, fine. A space here on the podcast or on this rant is always available to anyone who wants to push back on me, because I appreciate free speech. I appreciate an exchange of ideas, but it's got to be respectful. And last night there was a fair bit of stuff that wasn't respectful. But anyway, that's just my opinion. And I will get the Australian talk guy, I don't know his name. I will offer for him to come on the podcast and have a chat about his X-Spaces. And let's see whether we can get some common ground. Anyway, signing off for the day. Tomorrow, one verse, be much less of a rant. And, we'll see you all then.